Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com.
This is the Black Gold Banneret Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sharon and Eric Lopez.
And we welcome you to this edition of the Black and Gold Banneret. I'm Eric Lopez. Jeff Sharon is out. He is getting his wisdom teeth taken out. Good luck to that.
I've gone through that. You can bounce back quick, but I mean, for that one day you got it. It's gonna be a fun day.
Well, that is Bryson Turner's voice you just heard. He will be co-hosting with me. Coming up on this show, we have an exclusive interview. Our own Kyle Nash had a chance to catch up with Cole Schneider to talk about Pro Day last week, and of course, what's next for him as he tries to impress and get into the NFL draft, and much more. We'll talk. That'll be Kyle Nash with Cole Schneider. That's coming up in a little bit. Women's basketball is a new hire. We'll tell you about that later on in the program, plus much, much more. Of course, you can check us out at blackandgoldbanneret.com. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Black and Gold Banneret. We have a lot of post-game interviews as well as press conferences. And, of course, where can they follow us, Bryson, on the Black and Gold Banneret?
You can follow me at It's Bryson Turner on Twitter. And of course, you can follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. And you can follow the entire Black and Gold Banneret family at UCF Banneret _SBN.
All right, let's begin, though, with going around in the diamond. And we'll begin with softball because, well, I'm hosting. And we have significant news here. UCF coming off a 2-1 win over North Florida on Wednesday night in Jacksonville to improve to 31-10 on the season. That's coming off after winning that dramatic Monday night game against number 5 Virginia Tech in 11 innings, 5-4. They will host Memphis this weekend as they get back into conference play. They're 3-0. But there's some big developing story. As of Thursday morning, the latest RPI came out, courtesy of the NCAA, and UCF finds themselves ranked 10th in the RPI. That is the highest ranking that UCF softball has ever been this late in the season in the RPI. Why is that important? That is one of the main metrics that the NCAA softball committee looks at when they pick host sites. And I will give you some trends here, Bryson. Since they started using the RPI in 2008, every team in the Selection Sunday that ended up finishing in the top 10 in RPI has gone on to host. That is why that is a significant number. 3 teams in the state of Florida, by the way, ranked in the top 10. That has never happened in the history of, since the RPI was instituted to college softball. There has never been a state that's had 3 teams in the top 10 in the RPI at any point than we do right now with Florida, Florida State, and UCF all in the top 10. I think that tells you that's a softball state. But that's the significance, Bryson. But none of this is possible, in my opinion, without UCF's dramatic win on Monday night against number 5 Virginia Tech, because the Knights had lost the first 2 games of that series. No hitter by Keely Richard, the All-American pitcher for Virginia Tech on Sunday, 1-0 win. They win the second game 7-0. And you wondered, how would UCF respond after getting hit in the face? And I think if they lose the Monday night game, they would have dropped in the RPI. And I think they would probably still be in the mix, but their chances would have been reduced. But this team came back. They fought. It was a back-and-forth seesaw affair. And Shannon Doherty, once again, Bryson, with the dramatics in the bottom of the 11th after Jada Cody got a two-out single, or a one-out single with 2 strikes, I should say. Shannon Doherty delivers the base hit to right, scoring Jada Cody to give the Knights a 5-4 win over Virginia Tech. You were there. I was calling the game. You were there covering it. What was it like from your vantage point?
This was a long game. I'll tell you what. It was very dramatic before the 7th started with the elite changes that were happening there. But I will say that, and I want to ask you this, Eric. Do you think, because obviously Keely Richard and Gianna Mancha started once again after they started on the day prior, do you think that they gave up a few more runs because they were going on their second start in as many days?
Yeah, I think both teams made adjustments. They're both good offenses. I mean, these were top 30 offenses going up against each other, so they made some adjustments, made some pitches. But then, both teams went to the bullpen. Kamal Woodall was fantastic, pitched 6 shutout innings in relief, got the win. They threw their freshman phenom Emma Lemley, who was fantastic herself. And that's why we played forever, over 3 hours in the game. There wasn't a run scored from the 6th inning on till the 11th. Ashley Griffin had a big game, had a 2-run homer and a tying RBI double in the bottom of the 6th. Maddie Bejarano hit a solo homer in the 2nd inning. So they got some big hits off this great Hokie pitching staff that was in the top 5. But again, Shannon Doherty delivers. She was
They didn't lead the whole game. The Knights did not lead.
Well, they led in the second. They led 3-2 with the Bejarano homer. But Virginia Tech came back, took the lead in the 6th. But Shannon Doherty is the story. She hit the walk-off homer on opening night against Georgia that broke Twitter. She hit the walk-off 3-run homer against Ole Miss late February. And now she had the game walk-off RBI double. We had a chance to talk to Shannon Doherty after the game on Monday. The entire interview is on our YouTube channel, Black and Gold Banneret. Make sure you subscribe to that, as well as give us a thumbs up, like. But here's what Shannon Doherty had to say about being in the clutch.
It means a lot, definitely for my confidence. And, that was my goal coming into this season, was to be consistently dangerous. And I think I said that from the beginning of the season. I just want to be consistently dangerous. And, these moments like this, I think I'm built for it. I've just always grown up. I've always been told be bigger than the moment, keep it simple. And, preparation gives you confidence. And, I work my butt off every day. And I know that when I step in the box, the pitcher didn't outwork me. The other team didn't outwork me, so why can't it be me?
That was Shannon Doherty talking to us, me and Bryson, after the game on Monday there. You're impressed with Shannon. I know you were actually working on a feature on her a little bit, but it's unbelievable, the resume that she's built. She's become the walk-off queen of UCF.
Oh, yes, very much so. I mean, I talked, if you go and watch that full interview on the Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel, there was a question that I had asked either right before or right after that one that talked about the dynamic between Shannon Doherty and Jada Cody. And I know that Eric, you told me about this mythical pitching duo of UCF softball past called Shake and Bake. I think Shannon Doherty and Jada Cody might be the shake and bake of offense. I don't know. We have to figure out with an appropriate name for them.
Yeah, it's up to them. They got to figure out what their nicknames are. Of course, you're referring to Mackenzie Otis and Shelby Turnier, the All-American pitching combo from 2015 that led UCF to 50 wins and a conference championship. That 2 of the greats of the all time in the sport, which is the last time UCF won the American Conference Championship. And that's the near focus. UCF's 3-0. Remember, they swept South Florida a couple weeks ago. They resume back. They host Memphis. You look at UCF's schedule the remainder of the way now after the win against UNF. They host Memphis. They host East Carolina. They're at Houston. They host Tulsa. Then they finish at Wichita State. Wichita State's the defending champions. The bad news of all that, the only top 50 team of that schedule left is Wichita State. That could decide the conference championship. So UCF's kind of in a spot here, even though they have the high RPI at 10 as of Thursday morning. They are going to have to avoid some bumps on the road here. They're almost going to have to be perfect, and that's kind of the unfairness of the system. Teams in the SEC and the ACC can go 1-2 every week and get rewarded for it. But so that's going to be interesting to see how they come out in conference play, because that is you got to win the conference, and this team is capable of doing that. And I think Wichita State is the team that's standing in their way. Wichita State, by the way, will be in Tampa this weekend against South Florida in a huge, huge series. Now, let me give you some stats about UCF's resume as of right now, Bryson. UCF, as I mentioned, 10th in the RPI as of Thursday. Their overall schedule strength is the 14th strongest, the 14th toughest schedule in the country, 10th toughest non-conference schedule in the country. That's a yo. The committee's going to love that. UCF has 11 wins against the top 50 in the RPI. You know how many teams have more wins than UCF in the top 50?
I'm going to say it's a number less than 3.
Here's the list. UCLA, 17 wins. Florida, 13 wins. Alabama, 16 wins. Have wins. And then Arkansas, 12 wins. That's
okay,
it.
I was close.
You're close. 4. That's the list. There's a few other teams that have 11 wins, Virginia Tech being one of them. But you get my drift. UCF has played an incredible schedule. 4 wins against the top 25. Obviously, Virginia Tech is the signature win. I believe this Monday night win against Virginia Tech, if UCF ends up hosting that walk-off hit, Bryson, by Shannon Doherty against Virginia Tech, even though it wasn't a walk-off homer, could end up being the most significant hit of the season as far as the home hosting there. I don't know if they would have dug themselves a bit of a hole. They would have had to play catch-up from a hosting standpoint. Nothing's guaranteed, as we know with committees, but UCF is a legitimate contender right now to host for the first time in program history. And if they did that, Bryson, with respect to women's soccer, men's soccer, and volleyball, it would be the most significant, biggest NCAA postseason event ever held at UCF campus.
Oh yeah, I would completely agree with that. I just have one question though, because you started this segment talking about how there were 3 Florida teams in the top 10 of RPI, and we know about the committee's, I guess, tendencies of not scheduling regionals too close to each other. And since Florida is obviously one of those teams that is way up there, and the close proximity of Gainesville and Orlando, can you talk about how, could UCF's chances of hosting end up taking a hit if either they fall too low on RPI, or even if they're still top 10 in RPI at the end of the season, if Florida's still there?
Florida's number 9 on Thursday's RPI. The advantage they're going to have is they're going to have more marquee games moving forward. In fact, they have Alabama this weekend. Florida State is 5. They will host Virginia Tech this weekend. Monster weekend for both of those teams. Look, if you're in that 12 to 16 range, you're not guaranteed to host. UCF is number 10. UCF was 15 in the final RPI selection Sunday in 2015. They were not selected to host. To me, if you're UCF and you want to feel comfortable about hosting, you got to stay in the 10-11 range. And then, hopefully you don't get hosed. I mean, you would get hosed. That would be the best RPI team ever not to host. That would be controversial. But you're right. If they don't host, they'll likely go to Florida. I don't see now, if Florida were to fall apart, that would help UCF, because then maybe UCF becomes that second team in the state of Florida. I believe all 3 teams in the state of Florida should host. They should be on merit. It should be what you do on the field. And the guy that usually hosts this show claims to me that the reason that, football's not legit is because all the other sports are decided on the field. I disagree with that. And this is an example. Hosting is a massive, massive importance in this deal to host. It just does. It's in baseball and softball, man. Going on the road. We saw what happened with women's basketball at UConn. Weird stuff happens. You don't get the benefit of the calls. It just is what it is. So we'll see what happens. But they got to take care of business in the next month, and that starts with conference play. They got to take care of conference. If they don't take care of conference, this is all a moot point, and they'll be traveling on the road. But still, a heck of a year for this team right now as they're developing this year.
And I will say this, even though they didn't win, game 1 against Virginia Tech was still an absolute huge
magnificent game.
The fact that there was only 1 run scored the entire game. Like, we talk about Keely Richard getting the no-hitter. Gianna Mancha only had 2.
2 hits and 1 unearned run. That was in the first inning because of 2 UCF errors. Otherwise, they might still be pitching. It was a fantastic pitching performance. It was a great series. Virginia Tech is legit. I think Virginia Tech's going to end up in Oklahoma City. That's how good I think they are. And UCF and Virginia Tech, you had 2 of the 3 games. It was a 1-run difference with what it took a no-hitter from an All-American ACC pitcher of the year, Keely Richard, to beat UCF, and then an 11-inning classic on Monday night. And then, the other game, 7-0. There was a 1-0 game going into the 5th, and then Virginia Tech started to pull away. Credit to them. They're a great team. They deserve to win that series. But UCF, I think, will benefit from playing that series because they went through some adversity, Bryson. And teams have to go through some adversity like that. They struggled. They fought. And I think that'll benefit them here moving forward. Better to have that test now than have it in May. So I was a fantastic series. It was a pleasure to call it. And we'll see now. They beat a good, scrappy North Florida team in Jacksonville. Moncho was fantastic in that game on Wednesday night. And now they focus strictly on conference. Memphis comes in this weekend. Can't take them lightly. We'll see what happens this weekend. UCF, it's alumni weekend, by the way. Natalie Lahan, who the newly inducted UCF Hall of Famer, will be thrown out the first pitch. The series will be on ESPN+. Francesca Anea will join me for the broadcast of that series of UCF softball. So
let's also not forget with conference. Let's make sure that we're on Jada Cody RBI watch because she's getting close.
She's at 53. 53, 13 away from Stephanie Best, who will be in attendance as well. So those are some of the softball storylines we'll keep track for you on Black and Gold Banneret. Let's move over to baseball. They're not going to host, but they got off to a great start in conference weekend last weekend, sweeping South Florida after the USF baseball coach was talking trash on social media, calling them, the Oviedo, whatever, whatever. UCF baseball took care of business. I know they've lost a game where they coughed up against FAU in the midweek, but really it doesn't matter, Bryson, because right now it's about the conference because the American is wide open right now. It's a down year in the league, but it's wide open, and UCF got off to a significant start, beating one of the contenders, the defending American Conference Tournament champions, Bulls, in a big rivalry. Good start for this baseball team to go 3-0 in conference as they now head towards Memphis this weekend. But Coach Greg Lovelady was fired up after that series sweep, wasn't he?
Oh, yes, he very much was. I mean, and I can't blame him. Like, this was very much a very cathartic, emotional whiplash going from 2 straight 1-2 series against UNC Greensboro and Sanford to then going against going into the war on I-4, your first conference series, and you end up getting the sweep. Absolutely well done. You didn't even have Hunter Patterson either, which is the other pretty amazing part about this series. They didn't have one of their pitchers. So absolutely well done. I think that the games 1 and 2 were the classic UCF win strategy of just the pitchers really did it. You have Connor Stain, who I think is in serious contention for being a conference MVP, pitcher of the year, that sort of thing, because now that he's really back from undergoing back spasms, absolutely killed it. Kyle Kramer and Chase Santala also did well in relief, not allowing a single hit. It was a 1-hitter. Do you know the last time that this team had a 1-hitter, Eric?
I don't.
It was in April 2018 against, amazingly enough, the USF Bulls.
Wow, there you go.
And what's better, you want to see the UCF 1-hit the Bulls? Do you want to see him do it again? Do it again? So on Sunday, because unfortunately there was rain in the forecast on Saturday, and the game ended up getting pushed to Sunday. And so in the first game of the doubleheader on Sunday, the team one-hit the Bulls again. For no 1-hitters at all from 2018 to 2022, and then they get 2 in the span of a weekend. In that one, you had William Saxton, Ben Vespi, and Chase Santala teaming up for that. Very absolutely well done showing there. However, once again, that very much a pitching performance. It was a 4-0 game, but the game 3. Oh man, game 3. So this was the time where UCF's offense needed to step up, because in the second inning, USF managed to jump out to a 4-0 lead. So this is where the UCF offense, which has been having some issues this season, needed to step up, and they did. Andrew, right in the fifth inning, Andrew Sundin, home run, Jeffrey Pena, RBI single. And also in the fifth inning, Ben McCabe, single to right, single RBI single, 2 RBI single with the fastest exit velocity of the season. And then you have Lex Bodeker on a fielder's choice. There was a very cool play with Bodeker, actually, because he actually managed to reach first base, that if the out had been completed, the inning would have been over and the rally would have been nullified. So absolutely well done on that part. And then, of course, the insurance runs in the 8th inning to cap it all off. Absolutely well done by the offense there. I think that this team has been revitalized now. Lex Bodeker has been on a hot streak. Ben McCabe has moved from DH. He's now playing first base again. And guess what? He's actually hitting now. I have to wonder if maybe just being at first base and being in the game more really helped him at the plate. So that ended up going very well as well. Noah Orlando has moved out to right field a little bit, so that's been great. And Andrew Sundin, true freshman catcher, he caught the whole weekend, and I can't. It's amazing how well he's been hitting. We talked to him after the game. You can watch the full interview on the Black Gold Banneret YouTube channel. But this true freshman catcher has really seized the opportunity and has not let it go. He had a multi-hit game in every game in this series. So in an offense that really needs some production, Sundin has been absolutely reliable this entire series. Now, FAU does worry me a little bit, because obviously while maybe doesn't matter in the terms of conference, it does matter because they were on the road, Eric, and they have to go on the road in order to win in conference. And if you can't, but
that's a midweek, and it's not going to look. I mean, unfortunately, this team's probably not going to make it as an at-large. I just think there's too many holes in the resume. So really the focus from here on out is conference. That's the way to get yourself into the NCAA tournament, get yourself a ring. And nobody knows that more than Greg Lovelady. In fact, let's hear from Greg Lovelady following the USF sweep and his thoughts.
I'm jacked up. I'm happy. Man, we've talked a lot this week just about learning from the past, but understanding that it's all in the past and that we got to go move forward and we got to learn. But we prepared. We've gone through some lows and some highs and a roller coaster, but we're prepared and just worry about now, worry about today, worry about going forward, worry about the conference. Don't worry about what we did before. Don't worry about those weekends that we felt like we underperformed. Like, can't change it. So just worry about now, worry about going out there and proving everybody, that we're starting to figure things out. So I'm just proud of them for continuing to play. And again, I thought this weekend we did a great job of kind of moving on and forgetting about the past and just worrying about the present.
All right, that was Greg Lovelady following the sweep over South Florida. All right, Bryce, so let's kind of look ahead here to Memphis, because this is big. On the road, like you mentioned, got to win on the road. Memphis, their coach is in his final year as the head coach at Memphis. Couple things. What do we should look for in this weekend at Memphis, and do we have an update on the status of Hunter Patterson?
All right. Well, from what Greg Lovelady said, we might get. Remember how we had Connor Stain in the series before this one start like a limited start with a very limited pitch count, like 2 innings. So from what Lovelady has been telling me, we might see Hunter do that. We don't know because the week before that he said Hunter wouldn't pitch at all against Memphis. So I think it's really a play it by ear situation where if Hunter feels good, then they might give him a start with a pitch count perhaps on Sunday, but who's to say? Right now the situation is just very touch and go. It really depends on how Hunter's feeling, but I think it's something we should at least keep an eye on. Another injury that we probably should keep an eye on actually for conference is USF's Jack Josiah. He is their ace pitcher, has the second lowest ERA in the conference. He didn't pitch in the USF's in the series against UCF because he had an injury. And it sounds like from what I heard on Twitter from one of the USF radio people, he would be out for a while. So it'll be interesting to see once UCF can stack up against him. But I think, but as far as conference goes, Memphis, I'm looking at the conference rankings. Memphis ranks pretty low in conference over the various statistical categories. So I think Memphis is a very good first road opponent for UCF. I just worry a little bit because they're on the road, but
it's not easy to get to Memphis. It's not direct. Memphis has given UCF fits last year. You covered that series last year when Memphis just.
And they don't have Hunter Goodman, though. They don't have Hunter Goodman,
That's very good news. That is very good news for baseball. But just keep winning series, and you're going to get a shot to win the regular season. So that's the update on baseball. Check out Bryson's recap of the USF series right now on blackandgoldbanneret.com. I have my recap of the Virginia Tech series, as well as a breakdown of UCF's possibilities of hosting. That's all on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Now, coming up on Black and Gold Banneret, our own Kyle Nash this week had a chance to sit down with Cole Schneider, who participated in Pro Day. They'll talk about that, his time at UCF, and what's ahead for him. Now, before we get to that interview, a couple quick football notes. On Monday came out that head football coach Gus Malzahn was involved in a car accident up in Auburn. According to Brett McMurphy, who tweeted out that UCF coach Gus Malzahn was involved in an automobile accident Monday night in Auburn. Malzahn was in Auburn to be with his wife, Christy, as they assisted Christy's mother after the passing of Christy's father. Gus, who was the driver, was not injured in the accident. That is according to Brett McMurphy. Gus Malzahn was at practice. In fact, as of Thursday, he was at practice. However, as of Thursday morning, he has not spoken to the media locally about that. But we're glad everybody's okay in that situation, and the best to everybody involved in that. All right, when we come back, Kyle Nash talks to Cole Schneider about what's ahead for him after Pro Day and of course, the UCF career. You're listening to the Black and Gold Banneret.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Black and Gold Banneret. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game, here with a little bit of extra credit for you here on this week's edition of the podcast. An excellent treat here with me. Spent a good amount of time. It was a redshirt freshman at one point, so there's at least that 5 years. Super senior status achieved. But yeah, I spent a number of time here playing for the UCF Knights football squad, and of course, hanging out in the trenches doing battle with defensive linemen and linebackers alike. So another one of my own ilk playing as the Beef. I got to stop calling him the Beef because Jordan Johnson was there as a vegan. I don't know. Anyways, we talked to Jordan last time, but now we're talking to a gentleman who played alongside of him, literally next to him on the offensive line. Of course, I'm referring to the freshly graduated Cole Schneider. What's going on, Cole?
Nothing much. It's good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, hey, man, thanks for coming aboard. I know that this is a busy part of the year for any prospect in your position. We kind of talked about your schedule being, a lot different than usual, so I appreciate you taking the time out and coming aboard, man. So thanks a ton.
No problem. Happy to be here.
So let's get right into it. You came in. 2017, you worked a little bit with the program, but 2018 was when you really started to come right out the gate, started a bunch of games, played really big. You were a big part of the Heupel era, and then you played some with Gus Malzahn. Just from your standpoint, kind of walk us through, your program with both coaches, and how you think they were different. Compare them a little bit, if you would.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. My first year coming in with Frost, those guys had a lot of huge impact on me coming to UCF. Without a question, it was a family atmosphere, whether it was recruiting or it was there on campus. But like you said, it was mostly a scout team for me my freshman year, but probably one of the best years of my life, learning a lot of different things, becoming a man, becoming a great teammate. And I think the biggest thing that they would always harp on was family. So that's why I say it's such a family atmosphere, from the equipment managers all the way up to the head coach. I think everyone was on the same level, on the same path, and, was excited to come into work every day. And I would say with
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done.
Yeah. And then with Heupel, I was kind of used to, coaching changes throughout high school, had 3 different high school coaches. So I was used to change. Those guys came in, picked up like we never skipped a beat, right in the spring ball. And, the next 3 years with those guys were absolutely incredible. Learned a lot and had a great time with them too.
Yeah, man. And you mentioned family. Someone I got to give special shouts out to. Like, your mom is on Twitter constantly giving you props too. So we got to give shouts out to Mom for all the social media love. And I'll put it this way. That's the most I've ever probably seen you smile with your gear on, because you're usually in the game doing battle. So definitely got to throw shouts out to her as well. But you mentioned having three different coaches in high school. I didn't necessarily know about that. So, did that kind of prepare you? You mentioned it kind of prepared you for change. What is a rule that you would give people out there who are, in any situation, with their team and they're dealing with a change in the coach? What do you think is most important in trying to transition in a situation like that, especially where it's going to come often like that?
Yeah, I mean, especially, when you're leading up, you want to go towards the business side of it, the professional league. You have to be able to adapt to change. That's one of the biggest things that I think it comes with success is, you can't be able to cry or whine about change. It's not fair. This is and that and the third. I think the things you have to do is, you got to be mature. You got to understand the mindset of the coaches and the coaching staff that's coming in. What are they bringing to the playbook? And just be a sponge and soak it all in. That's something that's like one of the biggest things you got to harp on when it comes to change is, being able to make it as fast as possible, so you'll be able to start working on things instead of, taking so long to, learn and it's, just be able to soak up all the knowledge. You got to be able to adapt fast and work fast.
So yeah, you got to be a sponge, I guess, and get whatever that extra data that's coming in. Because you mentioned the atmosphere of having to change different things. It's not necessarily all on the field there. Like a lot of that, I would think, is in the meeting rooms as well.
Oh yeah, of course. There's different coaching styles. Whether it's in the meeting rooms or on the field. You have to be able to adapt not only to the playbook, but to personalities, to coaching styles. So whether it's depending on what the coach you have, depending if it's more, is it more mental, is it more physical, what kind of approach do they have? So you have to be able to kind of understand those things and, bring it to your approach every single day.
Over the time you were there, UCF as a football program had a lot of milestones, had a lot of growth and accomplishment overall there too. So this is a question that gets asked of a lot of college athletes, but I think is unique to guys in your space and time at UCF, just because there was a lot that went on. The national championship, the multiple NY6 bowls, the movement into conference play in the Power 5, and I could probably think of other things, but that's just what's off the top of my head here, and I don't want this question to be longer than your answer. So in your mind, is there a particular accomplishment that you or the team had, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be anything on the field per se, but like what do you think is the best, the kind of the best accomplishing moment that took place at UCF while you were on the team?
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny you said that. I was actually talking about this not too long ago. It was more so an accomplishment for, it was my first year scout team. I remember, I never really played scout team before, so really didn't have a grasp for, the speed, tempo, and, how things were supposed to operate. And I remember it was week 2, and at the time, Coach Dawson, the D-line coach, was telling all of the scout team offensive line guys, because we were switching around. I was playing tackle, we were just kind of giving looks and stuff, not really to where that was up to par. But he ended up chewing us out after one of the practices, saying that, we're the worst offensive line scout team he's ever seen, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. So something we took to heart for sure. So no doubt that next following week, that's when we started to crank it up. I remember by, I think it was game, I want to say 6, after practice, he's telling us to tone it down. We're going to get guys off the ground, really take care of the defense, because we took it to heart. I took it to heart, like most importantly. And it's not like, any type of accolades or anything that came with that, but, it was to the point where he was telling us to back off and relax. We weren't going, do anything too crazy, but we were really definitely putting the hurt on the guys for sure and giving them great looks. And, I definitely think it panned out well.
There's a lot to be said for having a great practice situation. I myself had to play, against the best player on the team in practice every snap, and that made me better. Is that concept? But I like the concept you're throwing out there, where he's like, "You guys were, you're the worst O-line," is what you said, and all of a sudden he's like, "Well, hey." I can't imagine how big that was. I mean, that had to have been a huge confidence builder. You started how many games? You basically started all but I think one game in 2018. Do you think that was kind of a diving point for that to take place?
Yeah, I think that definitely, that definitely was a huge, pivotal moment for me, especially when it comes to, the mindset in football, because I kind of built up a little bit of a mentality, but I think it was, more carried over from wrestling. So I think that first year was really a defining moment for me, and, how I was going to, take on my career and how I was going to carry on, portray myself on film.
You mentioned your wrestling background. I might be asking this part a little bit out of order, but is that where I heard you say at the press conference after Pro Day that if for whatever reason you don't crack into football, that you would put combat sport in play? I mean, your wrestling background had to certainly be part of that impulse, yeah?
Yeah, no doubt. And it's definitely one of the ones in my back pocket for sure. I wouldn't say it's definitely plan B as of right now, but it's definitely plan C or maybe even plan D for sure. It's something I've always been interested by, since I was a young kid, just kind of like the physical aspect of things. And I know for me playing sports growing up, I had a lot of fun playing, soccer, basketball, t-ball, all those different things. But I think once I started playing football and wrestling is where I really kind of found myself, just in the contact sports. And also it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see fun is relative, but a guy like you that enjoys contact in sport, I totally get that aspect of it. And that whole wrestling background, like, I'm pretty sure I outweigh you, but I know you're going to take me because your technique is so excellent, and that kind of translates into that, wrestling piece. But I say that to say that a game in particular, I thought, at least within that season, if not in your career on the whole, was the Gasparilla Bowl, where you guys came out and there was just a lot of punching in the mouth, and they call it an ugly game. I prefer to call it a hard-fought game, because you guys in the trenches were doing, a whole lot of stuff, and you not only were you blocking strong, but there was a lot of kicks and a lot of movement for you to go out and find guys to block. A lot of, I would argue, a couple second-level openings happened by way of what you were doing with your technique and all that sort of thing. But rather than do a draft analysis of you, let me ask you more about the Gasparilla Bowl itself. Arguably a great way for to go out as a senior, I'm sure. But the whole best in the state thing, like, does that matter in your eyes for the program over and beyond just bragging rights for UCF?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important. With fan base, it's super important to me. It's super important to the team. So, anything we can do, any type of, level up in Florida, be the main guys in Florida. I know there's been a lot of banter back and forth between us and UF in the past recent couple of years before, making a home and home games. There's been a lot of, fighting over it, and to be a part of the team that was able to, kind of set the tone and be the best, named the best in the state before we knew we got to play them in a regular season game was awesome. I think, like you said, it was a hard-fought game. I think that's probably one of the most, that made it way better than, if it was a blowout. If we were to blow them out, I think it being a hard-fought game definitely made it mean a lot more to me. I feel like it means like a lot more to the team too as well. just because it was a hard-fought game. It wasn't a blowout. It was entertaining. The atmosphere there was unreal. So I think, for that to be able to cap it off my season, my career here, I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, no, and I remember I was down on the field for the last part of the game too. It was an electric atmosphere. About that, you're absolutely correct on that. And you said something kind of in the same ilk of being excited to play against the Gators. Around that time, you were the first one to point out, I think it was you and Sam Jack, that kind of alluded to the fact that this, until that bowl game was announced, you guys had basically accepted the fact that you were never going to play the Gators in your tender, and then lo and behold, whoop, that bowl game was assigned. I mean, that had to have been an exciting element.
Yeah, of course. And like I said earlier, there's all the debating and all the trying to figure out when we were going to play them, and at that point, kind of knew that I was going to be a part of the team that played in a regular season game. But knowing that having that feeling of, I don't know, ages coming up was kind of invigorating, and it was just awesome for it to actually be them to pop up for the bowl game and just to send it off for us. But yeah, all the guys were super excited about it.
And there's obviously, like you mentioned, a great way to walk off your football career at UCF was that Gasparilla Bowl game. But during your time here, I'm sure there are a few individuals that had a very big influence on you. Is there anybody you would shout out as that the most? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah, who would you say was kind of a bigger influence on the team throughout your time and playing there?
Well, like we were talking about after pro day, just coming in, I think one of the biggest, kind of mentors that kind of, pulled me aside, me and Sam aside, was Aaron Evans. Kind of took us under his wing. I kind of liked his mindset and the way he thought about football, and the way he carried himself. And I think I wanted to model myself. Take some of his game, take some of his approach, and kind of put it towards my game. And that's what I did, and kind of helped me shape to be who I am today. And another guy would also be Wyatt Miller. Just supreme type leader type guy. Very vocal. Knows what to say, when to say it. Has a lot of people's respect, and whenever he does speak, and when he talks, people listen. So those are two main guys for me my freshman year coming in, and then being able to play with a guy like Jordan Johnson, consistently, go from a guy that I look up to a guy that I look beside to when we're playing next to each other, which was absolutely awesome. Especially also knowing that we could have wrestled each other in high school too. So yeah, it's just loaded with great guys and guys who brought me along the way, and guys to definitely respect and thank a lot.
So I have some other questions about Aaron and Wyatt, but I got to go to JJ first. Like, him accepting a coaching position with Cincinnati, like, I'm sure you're excited for him, but like there's going to be a little smack talk there, right?
Yeah, of course, no doubt. And it's a wonderful opportunity for him, in his journey. He's been doing a lot of great things for a lot of people, him, and he's starting up his motivational channel on YouTube, which you should go check it out. And yeah, he has nothing but great things to say, and it's just full of passion. The guy is full of passion. He wants to help people, he wants to lead people in the right direction. It's awesome, but at the same time, it's like, Cincinnati, come on, But no, yeah, nothing but blessings for that guy. He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure they're due to play here in Orlando this year. If you are around, I'm sure you're going to make it across to that sideline. Albeit with certainly a smirk or two. But I think we talked about this before during the podcast with him. He definitely made it a point to let his youth know that back in the day it was a tough trip for them on ESPN game day when they came into town.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So
no doubt.
So with that in mind, you would mention Wyatt Miller and Aaron Evans. For those that know, those are two very different personalities. Like, I could almost see Wyatt Miller playing offensive tackle wearing a suit and tie, whereas Aaron, I call him like an upside duck on a pond. Like if you look underwater when a duck's paddling, his feet are going crazy, but he's calm on the surface. But I feel like Aaron kind of plays showing you that his feet are wagging, and that's one of the first conversations I had with him when I interviewed him. Like, I mean, is it kind of those different styles that you put together to make Cole Schneider the guard?
Yeah, I mean, I like to say I took, I brought some of that myself. I already had some of that, but those guys definitely brought, specific traits out. I could definitely tell with Aaron, his wackiness, but also philosophical, like, what I'm saying? Like he just thinks differently, and he acts the way he wants to and the way he feels, and like he's not ashamed of that. And the same thing with Wyatt, very confident guy, very vocal guy. He can, same thing with him as in like, he acts as himself. He doesn't want to please anybody. That's who he is, and I think that's why I respect both of them.
Cool, man. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as far as that. And I mean, in your time here, you got a lot done, as a group for the program. So that's certainly, apparently you picked some decent role models. I mean, those are guys at some point that were on NFL rosters eventually. So, who can blame you for picking up a few things from those guys for sure. Let's go ahead and make this. Let me ask you a couple more questions here about you for kind of your aspirations here. I know you had mentioned Thursday you're going to have a look with the Tampa Bay Bucks, if I remember correctly. What kind of preparation have you been going into, for Pro Day, for workouts like Thursday with Tampa? What's different than your normal football regimen?
So I headed down to, Deerfield Beach, got to train with Mike Barwis, and at his facility. It's absolutely amazing. The guy, he's a miracle worker, had a few, bumps and bruises coming out of the season that, we attacked right away, got healthy, then went right after and started training. It was, things that I've never really done before, movements I'm not aware of beforehand, but yeah, this guy's gotten me stronger in ways that I couldn't even imagine. More mobility, flexibility. I move better. I feel better when I do it. So I think that's where I took a lot more initiative on focusing on things I haven't focused on in the past, and just different ways to do it. And then leading up to Pro Day, I followed the regimen leading up to it, taking care of my body, easing up towards Pro Day. And it worked out perfect. It worked out how I imagined.
Yeah, which is, I mean, you seem to be hitting the bag just a bit different during Pro Day, in a good way, of course. Or maybe that was just me being distracted by the super awesome mustache that you've grown. I gotta ask this: have you gotten any texts from tight end Jake Escock? Because I do realize he had the Wyatt Earp mustache, and that was all the range for at least one of those seasons, right?
Yeah. No, I had it, and I actually had it earlier in the season as well, but sporting the mohawk with it. So the guys seemed to like it back then, and it slowly kind of faded away. But I felt necessary to bring it back just for the competitive nature.
I mean, listen, in a good way, you do have kind of a handsome baby face without it, and I pictured in my head, kind of lining across from facial hair free Cole versus mustache Cole. And I got to tell you, in my mind, mustache Cole is just a bit more intimidating. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. I hear you. Gives you the concerned dad feel, huh?
Oh, wow. That made it even scarier. I don't even think of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, getting ready for the finger pointing. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Just listen, I'm glad you don't know my middle name. Then I know I'd be in real trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's good, man. So, other than Tampa, is there anything on the list that you're looking to target here coming up? Or
I was really just going to keep training, keep my phone open, ready for any workouts to hit my phone. If not, that's fine. I'm just going to keep my body up to date and just keep taking care of myself and wait for the day.
No, I can't front on that. That makes a lot of sense there too. So you mentioned we were talking about Pro Day earlier. For those that didn't notice, during some of your position drills, out came the ball for you to do some drills for that too. Obviously, for for you to demonstrate your skills and movement, with the ball, for playing center and all that sort of stuff, which you did an excellent job filling in for Matt Lee during the season when he needed to sit to recover from injury or take a breather or whatever it was. In your mind, how important is the aspect of having utility to play those three different spots on the interior line help you as a prospect?
I think it does a lot. It's just being kind of short in depth there. For the last couple of years, I've always kind of saw firsthand being that guy who can fill in that role. Whether it's spring ball, fall camp, just throughout the season, if someone's getting some bumps and bruises, just being able to have confidence and trust that you can call on your guy to be like, hey, can you hop over there? We need you there. Like, no problem, no problems here, no bad snaps, none of this. Just having that complete utter confidence that the guy can play there, can do it well, and can succeed there in three different spots. I think it definitely takes away some stress for coaches, and gives you a lot less things to worry about.
And you mentioned being a leader, and that sort of veteran stuff too. There's another guy who's been taking snaps in center at spring camp now with your departure. That may not have been this time before. And, of course, that's Sam Jackson in practice. You got any advice for him in preparation to be a bit of a utility guy now in the coming season for UCF?
Yeah, I think he's definitely been, a big part of our utility belt. And, he's playing, all four positions before. He's finally playing the fifth one that he hasn't played yet. So I think, at center is a little bit different just because the ball is involved. But, I trust and I have faith in him. Whenever we need him and call upon him, he's going to be ready, and he's going to perform well. So I think, as long as he gets his snapping down, he's going to be A-okay.
So we mentioned all the changes and stuff that have come over your time at UCF. I'm only going to keep you here for about 30 minutes, but if I had the full hour, I could fill that up with questions, and we could have a conversation with that for sure. But in your mind, I guess I'll ask this first. In your mind, during your time there, if there was a particular moment or time that was a biggest challenge, what would you say that was?
The biggest challenge. I remember it was going into spring, my first spring ball. So I completed, my first fall camp, my first season on scout team. Leading into it was 2018 going into spring ball. This is where they kind of were pushing for me to play center, and they were talking about JJ bumping over to guard. But my snaps were definitely something that I had to work on. So I know, it was very hard because in your head, you want to throw it back there. You want to get it right. It's a bit of a mental game, when it comes with lack of experience and really having to, be able to hone in and focus. So for me, it was a thing where I took it very personal to get my snaps up because I was tired of meetings, being called out for snaps and this, that, and third. I wanted to end that. So taking it upon myself, me and my coach, Micah, who was with us at the time, would go out there and snap, 100 snaps in the morning, 100 snaps in the afternoon, every day throughout the week until I got my snaps right. And finally doing so, and getting to the spring game, I was starting center with JJ as starting guard, and that was definitely a pivotal moment for me, knowing the comfortability of playing center, because after that we went through summer and finally got it back to where I was at guard and center was JJ was back at center. But I think for me that was definitely stressful, knowing that I had the responsibility of the team on my back as being the first person to touch the ball at the beginning of play, having to get it back to the quarterback and successfully block. So I think I definitely took that as a challenging time mentally. For me, just to stay on track and, to push myself and, not let it break me down and, push past it and succeed from that.
And not just block, mind you, but usually blocking against the heaviest person on the defensive side of your opponent's football team more times than not, right?
Yeah. No doubt. It's definitely, I know it sounds as easy as it is. It sounds, just throwing it back there to the quarterback shouldn't be so hard, but And once you get out there and you can kind of, get a feel for it and have to, get off the ball, it's definitely a change of pace for sure.
Couple more questions here before I let you go, Cole. First of all, another big change that took place while you're at UCF is the switch to the Big 12 and Power 5 conference play. In your mind, what does that mean for the program?
Oh, I think it means a whole lot. There's a lot more. You think about scheduling, you think about a lot of different things that can come with it. But big thing is that we're starting to get recognition. We're starting to get attention. It's some things that we wish we already had back in 2017. But that's something kind of we had to, the AAC had to build upon, to kind of get that recognition, between us, like Cincinnati, so it kind of takes time for that stuff. So I think, these past, 4 or 5 years have definitely been, a big moment for UCF to be able to get his name out there and, raise our level of attention, raise our level of competition.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I mean, I know the fans are itching for it. I'm sure you remember some of Coach Frost's comments calling out the program at large, along with Danny White, about the disparity therein. It kind of felt like the program felt they had no other choice but to join them since they couldn't beat the politics, so to speak. And say what you will about Cincinnati making it, that I think was kind of an amazing anomaly in itself. Cool as it was that it happened. So I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down. Last question, Cole, because at the end of the day, you had a lot of stories here talking about your tenacity coming into places and being able to pick things up right away. Certainly testament to what you would bring to a team as a prospect or hopefully a pickup to a program in any football league or team. But if there's anything you feel like that you haven't had a chance to demonstrate, what is one trait that you don't think you had a chance to tell people about, either in interviews or on a field with scouts or any of that you could bring to a team as an asset?
Yeah, I definitely think I could bring, a different mindset than a lot of people have. I can take the beating, I can take the coaching, I can take whatever's thrown at me, and still understanding what my goal is and what my responsibility is, because first and foremost, I'm a team player. Whatever I'm told to do, whatever I need to get done is what I'm going to do. And, I kind of reflect back on the story I spoke about, scout team, kind of taking things to heart, and wanting to be able to prove myself that, I'm a team player. I'm not here for myself. I'm not here for the honorable mention. I'm in for the glory. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm proud to do.
Yeah, no, throughout all your stories, you definitely pay attention to your foundation. And then it's funny, I've had to ask you more directly questions about what you did after that point, because, it seems your perspective is, hey, I dealt with this change or I figured out this lesson, and then I was ready to, go have fun and kind of kick it. And I think that's an excellent approach to anything like that, for sure. I mean, that's certainly worth being called out 100%. So I could, like I said, do at least a full hour with you, man. You're an interesting cat. This is certainly not going to be our last conversation if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thanks again for talking to us, Cole. 100%. Best of luck on Thursday and beyond. If you're looking for Cole Schneider, he's on Twitter at SchneiderCole14. 14, that's a bit of a low number for a lineman, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's how old it was when I made it.
Well, okay, well, there you go. Way to rub in that age gap, Cole. Thanks.
Yeah, right.
No, man, but listen, it was an absolute joy to have you on. Listen, I'll text you Thursday. You let me know how you did, all right?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
All right, thank you, everybody. Cole Schneider, everyone. Okay, and that'll do it for this segment of the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Thanks a ton. We'll see what's up next. And until next time, everyone, class dismissed.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Thanks again to Kyle and Cole Schneider for joining. They're doing the show. They're a great interview there. And we wish Cole the best here moving forward as they get ready for the NFL draft in a few weeks in Vegas. All right. Big news this week, Mr. Bryson Turner, who's back with us. We're both back. We took a segment off. We thank Kyle for carrying the load there. Women's basketball. We got a new comings and goings. First, let's start with the coming. New head coach announced on Tuesday officially. It was reported on Sunday. It came out Sunday officially. UCF announced it on social media on Sunday night. And they announced they were introduced on Tuesday to the new head coach. Sytia Messer is the new UCF women's basketball head coach. She was the associate coach at LSU under Kim Mulkey, was a long time has been with Mulkey going back to Baylor. Has been a former head coach there at Tennessee Tech, played at Arkansas. You and Jeff were at the press conference on Tuesday. What was your takeaway? The entire press conference, by the way, is on the Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel, as well as Terry Mahajer's Q&A with the media after that. So for all of that, it's a lengthy. Check that out on our Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so you can get those notifications. But you were there with Jeff. What was your big takeaway?
Quick thing, make sure you hit the notification bell when you click subscribe to make sure you actually get the notifications. Anyway,
That's right.
So a couple of takeaways. One, UCF's women's basketball's attendance is going to automatically go up because Sytia Messer's family is so huge. She's the youngest. She's the youngest of 8, and they actually managed to get a lot of her family out to the press conference. It was really great to see that. One thing that one part of the press conference I actually quite liked is how she went and directly addressed the players. She took a portion of it and directly addressed the players. And I think that considering the transfer portal stuff that we're going to get into in a minute, I think really speaking to the ones that have not yet left, that are maybe a little undecided, because obviously the ones that left, have good reason to, but speaking to them directly, I think is a great way to start building that trust with them, and hope that will hopefully retain them. Now, as far as the hire itself, I think on paper, it's very good. We don't really have very hard evidence in terms of history, I guess, because she was an assistant for pretty much the majority of her career. So the question really is what can she do now that she's a head coach? Again, she was a head coach at Tennessee Tech from 2009 to 2012. And for the decade since, she's been an assistant at Georgia Tech and LSU. But her main job during that time was an assistant to Kim Mulkey at Baylor, building that program. And I think that time at Baylor, was a really big reason why Mahajer went with that hire, because not only did she help recruit, and that's the other thing is recruiting. She's really good with that. She helped build that Baylor program that ended up becoming a Big 12 power, but she is familiar with that conference. And that's the conference that we're going to be heading into and compete with Baylor as well. I mean, UCF versus Baylor in 2023, 2024 is going to be a very interesting matchup now. So I think on paper, and she also, Messer talked about how she gained a lot of experience in that decade in Tennessee Tech. She said one of the biggest differences between then and now is the experience that she got recruiting and all that. So I think this is going to be a big test for both UCF women's basketball as they go into a new conference, as well as Coach Messer, who is now head coaching at a Division I level. Obviously, she's worked under one of the best. Coach Mulkey is part of the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. She was inducted in 2020. So I think that this is a very good hire on paper. It helps them save some money as well. But I think that
that's a good point. Let's bring that up.
We just need to see how she does. This is a very
we don't know. It's a good textbook hire, like by the book. It's a good hire with the ties to the Big 12. Obviously, he's well respected. Been a part of a successful program at Baylor. I would kind of push back a little bit about, she's a great recruiter. We don't know. Let's see how it's easy when you're an assistant to be a recruiter because the head coach closes the deal. Let's see what happens when you've got to close the deal. And when you're not at Baylor that has all these resources that are not here at UCF. So, but I think it's a good hire. It's a textbook hire. You bring up the finances. I think that's important. Jason Beatty, our good friend of the Orlando Sentinel, reported that I believe her salary will be at $625,000 a season, which is slightly more than what Coach Abe was making here. I personally believe, this is just my opinion, had Coach Abe stayed, if Georgia never opened and she was here, she probably would be making that money for next season based on the great year they just had. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like, I think she would have been making this offer, this deal that Messer got, I think was going to be Coach Abe's money had she stayed, as far as if there was no other jobs, if Georgia never existed. Okay. Obviously Georgia existed, but you're right. They saved money because Coach Abe would have had, if to keep her away from Georgia, you would have had to pay over $900,000 to keep her a season. And there are many that would argue that is not the best of investments right now, considering the popularity of women's basketball is not the highest at this school. You mentioned that the big family will increase the attendance. Some would joke that would double the attendance, but it is what it is. It's a thing where I think it's a good hire. I think Terry handled this pretty well. I don't agree with the criticism that it took too long. Listen, the players that were going to transfer, we'll get to that. They were going to transfer, I think, regardless of who the head coach is. These players are loyal to their coach. And I just think that was unfair that people are saying that Terry took little. I think a week is usually actually pretty quick. Usually a process like this takes a week and a half to 2 weeks. So I thought the process was good. I thought the hire is fine. Let's see what happens. I don't know. We'll see. She's got a good personality. That's going to help. We'll see what happens. But look, no matter what, people better accept this. Next year is a rebuilding year, period. And part of that is because who's not here anymore. And let's transition to the transfer portal because Diamond Battles made it official, announcing that she will be transferring to Georgia, as is Coach Abe's daughter as well, Bryson.
Savannah, yes. Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. Diamond, she's been with Coach Abe for 4 years. That's where she wants to finish with. I completely get it. I'm going to cry a little on the inside, but I do get it. And then Savannah, it's her daughter. It was sort of a foregone conclusion when in the press conference they actually mentioned welcoming Savannah into the Georgia family in the introductory press release for Coach Abe at Georgia. So I think that was pretty much a foregone conclusion. And, I think that they definitely paid good money for her. Both you and I put in an open records request for that. And we found out that Coach Abe, of course, was being paid $950,000. $950,000. And then what's also interesting is that combined, her assistants made $810,000 combined. That's all 4 of them.
That's a lot, by the way, in women's basketball. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
they got taken care of. They got taken care of, and rightfully so, by the way. Rightfully so.
Absolutely.
And Diamond, I think it's a great move for Diamond. I know some fans are mad, like, oh, why, they're supposed to come for the school. That's nonsense. Guys, recruiting players always come for the coach. Yeah, the school's great, but they come for the coach. This is the new world we're in. Diamond Battles did everything she could here. She accomplished everything she could here. There is nothing else for her to do here to prove. Plus, I'm pretty sure she has her degree. If not, already. There's nothing else for her to do here. Why not take the shot at Georgia? You get to play in the SEC. That's a cool experience. And it makes a lot of sense because if you're Coach Abe, you're trying to build your culture at Georgia. Who better to bring in than a Diamond Battles that knows your culture and knows your system very well? I don't expect that to be the last former UCF player to go to Georgia. That's okay. Hey, it's funny, Bryson. We don't complain when Gus gets his former Auburn guys to come over here. So why is it okay for that and it's not okay for other schools to take our players?
Oh, yeah. Look, the transfer portal giveth, but the transfer portal can taketh away. I say that we take all that enthusiasm for keeping the players that, that did really well, and we pour all the love on Destiny Thomas because so far she has not said that she is leaving yet. And of the players that stayed, or at least have stayed so far, Destiny Thomas is the marquee name in that group. So I would say just pour all the support on Destiny, right, on Destiny Thomas. It's still ultimately her decision, but I think that Destiny Thomas is a very good player hopefully for Sytia Messer to build around going into this season.
And you know what? Sytia's got to build her own team. Got to build her own team. She's not going to be Coach Abe. There's going to be a transition. she's going to bring her players in, and they'll build the building blocks. So, we'll see how that goes in women's basketball there. But that's the big news. Sytia Messer, the new head coach at UCF women's basketball. Let's move on to other stories here real quick. Let's go around the kingdom here, Bryson. All right, I'm going to, real quick, give me some news, tennis and golf, real brief. A couple of notes there in track here. Around the kingdom, I'm going to give you the clock here, 60 seconds. Around the kingdom in 60 seconds with Bryson. Go, Bryson.
All right. Men's tennis. They just beat number 58 ranked Tulane 6-1, their first conference victory. Absolutely well done on the men's tennis part. The new rankings just came out, and they have 4 doubles pairings: Trey Hildebrand, Bond Ravel, Leighton Cronhay, Cooper White. Almost all the combinations of those 4 players are ranked. Absolutely well done. If there's any success this men's tennis team is going to get, I think it's with individual doubles pairs. They have a big weekend coming up against Tulsa and Memphis, who are both ranked ahead of them. So keep an eye out for that. Congratulations to women's golf. They finished first place as a team in the Brickyard Collegiate that was ended early due to rain, but that is a very good confidence booster for the conference championship, which is going to be in Pinehurst, North Carolina on April 17th. Congratulations to rowing, who had 3 boats, the varsity 8, the second varsity 8, and the second varsity 4 win the grand finals at the Sunshine State Invite in Sarasota. Well done to them. They're coming back home to host Miami at Lake Pickett on April 15th. And also big congratulations to Charlotte Crook, who managed to break the tie that she had with the great Anne-Marie Blaney in the 1500 meter run with her 4-minute 20.11 second time at the Florida Relays, which also had its own weather issues. She managed to finally break that tie and take the 1500 meter school record, outdoor 1500 meter school record, for herself. So absolutely well done for Charlotte. The track team will be heading to Miami this weekend.
Oh, just got it under the 60-second buzzer right there, folks. That was tight. Very tight. We'll leave you with this. Couple last notes. Bob Bowlsby stepping down as Big 12 commissioner. Look for a new commissioner in the next 90 days. I think this is good news for everybody involved, because I think the Big 12 needed new leadership. They got a TV deal they got to negotiate. You can't have a guy that's accusing a network of trying to sabotage their league when you're negotiating a TV deal. I think that's good. They're expecting to have a new commissioner in place within the next 90 days, so be on the lookout for that. We'll kind of cover that more once they name the new commissioner there. But I think that could get the ball rolling on the Oklahoma-Texas negotiations there. I personally believe UCF will still go to the Big 12 in the fall of 2023. I think everybody that's supposed to be where they need to be is going to be there by the fall of 2023. Everybody's waiting for that first domino to drop. I think this is the beginning of that. I think OU and Texas will reach a deal with the Big 12 with the new commissioner. And once that happens, I expect the American as well to reach a deal with UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. That's my prediction. We'll see if that happens. We'll cover that more at length down the road. And then massive news, Bryson, on the soccer front in college soccer. We've spent so much time about realignment in college football, college athletics, but there is currently a massive process of realignment in college soccer that is changing the landscape of men's soccer this week. Well, it was big news.
Oh, yes. Yes. So we already know that the Sun Belt had the ability to reinstate men's soccer once they managed to bring in all of its new additions. However, because Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss doesn't have men's soccer, but they're involved in this as well. They managed to reach a deal with Conference USA to leave for the Sun Belt early, which means that the Sun Belt can now reinstate men's soccer right away, and they're going to do just that. But that is not all. They stole the Conference USA's affiliates, University of Kentucky, University of South Carolina, and our upcoming Big 12 conference mate, West Virginia, who was going to join the Conference USA this fall. They're now going to go to the Sun Belt to make a men's soccer conference that I think can absolutely contend right away. Absolutely well done on the Sun Belt's part to get that. But the consequences of that, Eric, is that it's leaving Conference USA and the MAC completely high and dry. Both teams now have four schools for their conference for the fall of 2022, and you need 6 in order to be, I believe, NCAA championship eligible, which means if you're less than 6, then basically you're done.
That's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story. And the reason we're discussing this because this has an indirect effect potentially on the future of UCF men's soccer.
Yes, indeed it does. So we're gonna so as much as I would sympathize with the MAC teams that are left high and dry, they don't really have anything.
Listen, I've argued with Andrew and Jeff on this show. If the MAC went away to the FCS, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, very true. So, but we're focusing on the Conference USA here. So let's look at the teams that are left by this. So you have 3 of these teams are already scheduled to join the American already, which are Charlotte, FAU, and UAB. They are already slated to join the American as soon as 2023. Now, what will be very interesting to watch, Eric, is will the American be able to possibly take their men's soccer teams early? Because if Conference USA just completely shutters men's soccer, then can the American take those 3 teams early in fall 2020 for fall 2022 as affiliate members, men's soccer members only? That will be a very interesting sticking point. However, that leaves two teams high and dry. Liberty, who is scheduled to join the Conference USA in 2023, they have a men's soccer team that now is going to a conference that will probably, or a men's soccer conference that probably won't exist. So they're probably going to be in the market for a new conference, but they're not close to Florida. That's their business. What the biggest thing is Florida International, FIU. They have a ranked men's soccer program. I don't think they're gonna want to shutter that. So, but that means the Florida International, a full Conference USA member, is now being left high and dry and has to look for a new home. And what's huge is it's in the state of Florida. That means that I would not be surprised if Scott Carr was getting on the phone to Terry Mohajir if he hasn't already done it. So I think that,
and Mike Oresco.
Yes, indeed. We talk about how Oresco. You asked Oresco about this.
I asked Mike Oresco back at the basketball tournament about the future of UCF soccer and other sports like Cincinnati lacrosse and things, and he said they were working on it. They like to keep them, but there's also affiliate things, and I think he kind of saw this coming with some of the massive changes that's going on in men's soccer. This is massive changes. And now the question is, where does FIU go? To your point, if they were to join the American, let's say, you would have FIU, South Florida, FAU. It only make more sense for UCF to stay. You have 4 teams in the state of Florida. Financially, that is fantastic if you're UCF, less travel. And you're still in a strong league. But now there has been reports out of Marshall that they are going to try to recruit UCF to join the Sun Belt for men's soccer. So it seems like, in kind of cutting it short as we wrap up here, UCF options will be either they're going to stay in the American or likely join the Sun Belt, possibly. That might be the 2 options they have. I think they prefer to stay in the American, but we'll see. It depends on the negotiations. Maybe we'll find out this summer.
I think the big takeaway, honestly, is that UCF is going to be fine either way. I also think, by the way, that if that wherever UCF goes, I think FIU is going to follow because having that travel partner is going to be important regardless of conference. And I think UCF and FIU, if they both join the Sun Belt as affiliates, I think would make for a good travel partners. But really, there's 2 sides to this. Do you either stay with the Florida teams, or do you join your new Big 12 conference mate? Because West Virginia is in the Sun Belt, and there's 2 SEC teams there together. Might be worth it to have 2 Big 12 teams. So it really depends. But I think the biggest takeaway is that now that the Conference USA looks to be out of the question, at least as of this moment, UCF men's soccer is going to be fine. Both the American and the new Sun Belt look to be very great leagues. And I think regardless of either one, I think there's going to be great matchups there, and men's soccer is going to be fine.
We will be following that. I think this is going to be a busy summer in a lot of ways for the future of UCF and the conferences, alignments, and all their sports. So it's going to be very interesting. We'll monitor that very closely here on the Black and Gold Banneret. All right, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm hosting, as we record this Thursday, I got ready to host a UCF fundraiser softball event Thursday night. Encourage you to check that out. Make sure you donate. It's the day of giving as well at UCF. Help support the UCF teams there. and sponsor and certainly support their great success. Great year in athletics. Thanks to Cole Schneider for joining us. Thanks for Kyle Nash for providing that interview. Wish him well with his family, obviously, as he's taking care of some family stuff, personal stuff. So we'll hope to have him back next week to talk spring football. We wish Jeff well with his wisdom teeth, although, look, it was a lot quieter of a show, so that was a good thing. Best of luck to Brian Murphy, our old buddy. Opening day baseball. It's one of his favorite days. So I know he's at a very happy place right now. So good, best to him. Bryson, thank you for your contributions to this show as always, sir. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Eric. I love talking with you guys as well. I love talking about UCF sports, and this is a great way to do that. Love doing it with you.
That's Bryson Turner. I'm Eric Lopez. Follow us, like us, all on the social media, Black and Gold Banneret, and of course for all the latest in UCF. Have a great weekend, and until next time, this has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.